Hi, I'm Shell, and today I wanted to give you my non-spoilery thoughts on We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. Now, since it's a new year, I thought it would be the perfect time to introduce a new review format style here on my channel. I was inspired to do this by Murphy as well as Katie over at Kate's Book Date. I will leave both of their channels down in the description bar below. But the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to keep it super concise because it is a spoiler-free review, and I'm just going to give you the strengths and weaknesses, in my opinion, of the novel that I am reviewing. Starting off with the premise, this follows a teenage boy named Henry Denton who is having a crappy time in his life. He has a pretty shit home life. He feels completely neglected and shoved to the side when he's at home around his family. He is severely bullied in school, both emotionally and physically. His boyfriend just committed suicide, and on top of all of that, he has been abducted by aliens numerous times in his lifetime who sit him in front of this screen and tell him to either watch the world blow up into pieces or save it by pressing a red button. So this story follows Henry as he tries to decide whether the world is worth saving, as well as coping with bullying and grief and depression and just everything else that's going on in his life. Just an overall general thought on this book, I absolutely loved it. I loved the writing style. I loved how frustratingly real the characters are, not just Henry but everyone else around him, even the side characters like his family members or just a couple of friends that he meets in school. I've seen a couple of people compare this book to Donnie Darko meets The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and although I do agree with that, I do want to add that this also puts a mix of The End of the Effing World in there too. If you've watched that Netflix show, you'll know what I mean. But anyway, let's move on to the strengths and weaknesses. When it comes to the strengths in this book, I would say the writing style plays a really big role. Sean David Hutchinson's writing style is raw and honest and brutal at times without sounding pretentious or like it's trying to teach you something. It's just very realistic. It's very, this is how I'm feeling, and it's validated because this is how I'm feeling. I would say that this book is like a friend that you have very deep and meaningful conversations at midnight with, where you just talk about the world and you talk about the things that you're feeling deep down without it sounding preachy or like it's trying to give you advice. Speaking of this book feeling like a friend, the characters within this book feel so real to me. I think I've said that a couple of times about a couple of different books, but I think this one would take the cake. They feel like people that I would know. They feel like people that I meet at bars. They feel like people that I've had drunken conversations with. They all react to situations the way you expect normal people to, and it all makes it seem like we are just popping in and out of these people's lives. And that also goes with the side characters who actually have their own lives to deal with. They're not revolved around the main character or anything. Moving on to weaknesses, I actually don't have any weaknesses for this book, but if I were to nitpick, there are these chapters in between the chapters where we are following Henry and Henry's story that are kind of essay-ish type, and it all makes sense in the end, so I don't want to spoil anything, but I really did not care for those chapters. I found myself skipping some of them. They do work with the story if you really wanted it to, but I felt like I didn't really miss anything when I skipped them. And the other weakness, I would say, it's not really a weakness for me, but I know that there are a lot of people who don't like this, but basically this doesn't really have a finalized ending, if that makes sense. I know that people often complain about that, especially with Rainbow Rowell books. If you've read Rainbow Rowell books, you know that she doesn't really end her books in a finality sense. She ends them in a way where it feels like the characters are just keeping on living, characters keep on living, and that kind of goes the same with this book as well. There's not really much of a final ending, so that might annoy some people, so it might be a weakness. I thought I'd just mention that, but I really love those types of endings, so it didn't really bother me. So with that being said, I gave We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson a 9.5 out of 10 broken telescopes. I will leave the spoiler-filled reading vlog down in the description bar below. I also did a spoiler-free, more in-depth written review. I will also leave the link to that down below over on my blog. Let me know if you've read this book. Let me know if you're planning to read this book and if I've encouraged you to do so. Yeah, I hope you're having a great day and I will see you soon.